There's also plenty of minigames and challenges you can engage with throughout the world, like horse racing, fist fighting, and... I've been trying to get my life together these last couple of years. The look and presentation of The Witcher 3 is one of the best parts of the game. I would have loved if they had kept the darker color tones showcased in the early trailers, but the final game is still a treat to the eye. From a graphical standpoint, the game is great, but the thing that has kept it aesthetically relevant almost 10 years later is the masterful blend of style and realism. The graphics are there to enhance the viewing experience, not carry it. Every piece of land and city block has the same amount of care put into them, and what that does is, despite being a big game, the player is able to remember almost every location because they all stand out in their own way. And the same can be said for the character design. Whether it's a main character or a minor one, they each have received the same amount of detail from the artist at CD Projekt. And that is to say a lot. And the character design complements the characters' personalities. And bottom line, it's beautiful to look at. I especially love Yennefer's design, both her base game fit and her secondary one. This goes for all of the sorceresses. If you look past the choices that make more sense for some than others. Philippa Eilhart has gotten a new look, and that is to say that she can't look anywhere anymore, since Radovid had her eyes gouged out in the second one with spoons. Oh whoops, spoilers! So now she has a bandana covering her sockets, and so little can do so much. And it just adds to her already great character and her character design. Dandelion always looked the way he acts, but now even more so. Almost all reappearing characters look different from previous entries, except for Roach. He still hasn't changed since Foltest got killed, his personal 9/11. Despite the changes in wardrobe, or lack thereof, all of the characters are still themselves, with a few developments, and one character that has received a lot of development since the last game is Geralt. The writers have really brought out his personality in the third. That was lacking a bit in the second and somewhat there in the first. Although I will say that Witcher 3 Geralt is way more charming than his book counterpart, who, for a lack of a better word, could be quite the loser at times, brooding in a corner feeling sorry for himself, while the others in his party is cooking up a mean soup. What's your fucking problem? I don't really see this as a writing flaw. More that Geralt has become more mature in an age well over 100 years old from his experiences in the books and games. I've said it in the Witcher 2 video, but game Geralt is just too sexy, especially when you have Nvidia Hairworks enabled. That makes Geralt look like he regularly bathes. Like, do you think the guy that spends all of his time on the road and searching sewers and battlefields for monsters washes his hair, let alone his ass, on a regular basis? Get real. Besides, Geralt's hair without hairworks looks the perfect amount of greasy. Unwashed hair and ass besides. When Geralt acted like an idiot in the books, his companions were there to keep him in check, but one especially, Yennefer of Vengerberg. One of my favorite characters from the franchise period, Yennefer is the perfect match for Geralt's character, and vice versa. They complement each other, and keep each other in check, and while they quarrel and don't see each other for years, they always end up back together.
Hear about the White Lady.
As I hoped.
And this is partly due to their first encounter in The Last Wish, in the short story which is the namesake of the book. Geralt uses his last wish from a djinn to escape certain death alongside Yen, a wish that bounds him and her by destiny, and this is explored in the quest, The Last Wish, where Yennefer gets Geralt to help her break that wish, in order to see if they feel differently about each other afterwards. Or if their love is true. This is ultimately up to the player, but I believe the wish merely helped them along. The game takes a lot of things from the books and explores them further in an interesting way, and this is one of my favorite instances. But what makes Yennefer great, like Geralt, is that she isn't defined by her relationship with him, and that she's a needle mover who isn't afraid to get her hands dirty.
Could you revive him?
Maybe. If I actually practiced black magic. Haven't sunken that low just yet.
Fine. You busy yourself pouting. I'll handle the rest.
In D&D terms, she's chaotic good, one who is willing to do whatever it takes to bring on good for herself, her friends, and family. Both her greatest strength and her greatest weakness. A lot of players don't like her because she can be mean and sarcastic, because heaven forbid a female character has character and doesn't cater to you. She's a complex character with strengths and flaws, like all of The Witcher's characters. She's one of the 3 most important characters in the series, and I'm really happy with how the writers handled her in the game. But it's a shame that they still insist on making the Geralt and Triss romance canon, despite my greatest efforts of avoiding her in the other games. So no matter what I do, Yen will be mad at Geralt for letting Triss take advantage of him, which Triss admits to, by the way.
Good. That should stop people from taking advantage of you.
Someone's been taking advantage of me.
I have, for one.
I've never even intimated.
We need to hurry.
I like Triss in the books and in the games, but her getting a little too confident around Geralt as soon as Yennefer was out of the picture, and never informing him about his past while he had amnesia, or at least not immediately, has always rubbed me the wrong way, and for that she must perish. Yennefer is of course not the only important character from the books to finally make an appearance in the games.
Cirilla Fiona Ellen Rhiannon.
Most commonly referred to as Ciri, is the most significant character in all of The Witcher and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Most of The Witcher books and The Witcher 3 is Geralt and co trying to find Ciri while she is on the run from a world that wants to use her gift or curse for its own benefit. As a child of the Elder Blood, she possesses great power and abilities, one of which being able to travel between worlds, which is part of the reason why the Wild Hunt wants her, so they can use her powers to save their people from their dying world. Hearing that, you'd think it's a noble cause, but knowing that the Wild Hunt are actually elves, you know it can't possibly be, and it isn't. You need only play the game and read the books to know that. As you and Geralt go through the continent in search of Ciri, you'll occasionally get to play as her when a character is giving Geralt information about her. And these sections are short and sweet. And Ciri is fun to play as just because of how overpowered she is, and that's really saying something considering you play as Geralt. You only get small glimpses of Ciri through these flashbacks, and from what you're told by other characters, so when you and Geralt finally find her, it's an incredibly powerful moment and the music couldn't be more perfect. And this hits hard whether you've read the books or not, and know everything that Geralt, Ciri and Yennefer have been through together. They're her adoptive parents, and she takes after them. And you, the player. Witchers are infertile, and sorceresses can't bear children, so yet again Destiny swoops in. But funnily enough, Ciri has tried to outrun Destiny the whole series. And her arc in the game is coming to terms with and taking charge of her own destiny, and therefore the world's. Geralt's arc is realizing that he needs to let Ciri shape her own destiny, and it's the story of a father letting his child grow up, and that he can't always be there for her. We followed Ciri since she was in her mom's belly up to now, and it can feel like, as a reader and player, that you're another one of her guardians. And in the games, you do your best as Geralt to protect and shape Ciri, but in the end, you can't do any more, and you just have to find peace with your choices and hers.
Please. This is not the time to debate ethics.
The Witcher games have always been praised for their moral dilemmas and impossible choices, and rightfully so. But yet again, The Witcher 3 takes something already great and makes it even greater. And not only that, increases the quantity significantly without losing any of the quality. It's mind-boggling the amount of story-based games out there, whose only gameplay is choice and consequence, that are barely 1/10 of The Witcher 3 scale, and that almost none of them come even close to The Witcher 3's complexity and replay value. Writing is hard, but having to navigate all the different choices and chain reactions in a main story the size of The Witcher 3, not to speak of the endless amount of side quests, and potential previous choices ported over from The Witcher 2, is impressive the game didn't take any longer than it did to make. The fact that it all works in the game and isn't broken is a feat itself, and the game has some of the best Witcher storylines and moments of the entire series, books included. Period. It's one of those adaptations that doesn't just understand its source material, but elevates it. The games have their own separate lore from the books, and there are characters that act and look differently from their book counterparts. But the essence and spirit of the books is on full display, and with this the game makes its own identity while not ignoring its roots. There's a lot of references, parallels, and continuations of ideas from the books and previous games, and it's never pandering or annoying. There are even accidental references like this, which made me think of when Geralt and Yennefer were at the ball on Thanet. The games aren't faithful adaptations, in the same way that a lot of players aren't faithful to Yen in the games, unlike me. But there aren't any faithful adaptations of The Witcher, and they all take the framework of The Witcher and put whatever canvas they want in there, with varying quality. The Witcher has consistently managed to have a new set of lore for every adaptation. You have the actual lore in the books, the Witcher Polish TV series lore, the pen and paper adaptation of said TV series lore, that a lot of people have unknowingly been citing lately, the Polish comic books lore, the video game lore, the post-video game comics lore, the Witcher Netflix lore, the Witcher instant pierogi from Zapka lore, the Geralt cosplayer on Renegofne lore, and so on and so on. The Witcher is not a franchise for the lore purist of heart, but that was never the main appeal of The Witcher to begin with. It's about watching all of these freaks figure out their custody situation with an abandoned Nepo baby. Wait, where's the Nepo baby? She's on a different plane of existence? Fuck. This is a simplified plot summary of the books and the third game, and between all of that, there are too many subplots and side quests to count. Some of these really make you wonder if CD Projekt Red have a policy regarding their writing team that if you don't write a whimsical and magical story, you don't get pierogies and cigarettes. And the writers who have gone the longest without any of these essentials end up writing the darkest shit you've ever seen in the series. But for the most part, all quests and side quests are funny in nature, even if it is serious. Remember how The Witcher 2 was all about Geralt clearing his name because he was accused of murdering Foltest? Well, in the third game, Roach, one of Geralt's companions from the second, and some other weirdos tell Geralt that he needs to help them kill Radovid so they can save the North. What's even funnier is that I missed this quest in my latest playthrough because I made Geralt disable one of the conspirators for life, which Geralt also did to him in the books, but now way worse. And because of that, Radovid is able to win the war against Nilfgaard and gain complete control over the North. And his purging of magic users and non-humans remains unchallenged. Whoopsies. And despite me replaying this game numerous times for nearly a decade, I completely forgot about the consequences of my own actions. Which isn't to say that the game doesn't hold you accountable for your choices. In fact, it does this all the time. I'm just kinda stupid. In a lot of games, you can simply load the previous save and change your decision immediately. And you can do this quite a bit with a lot of the side quests. But for the major side quests and main quests, you can forget all about it, because while your decision is taken in the moment, the outcome is first revealed several hours and quests later. And you might not even know which of your decisions sparked that outcome. The game forces you to live with your choices, and that's what makes them so impactful. Not just because of their shocking and unpredictable nature, but because they're permanent. Unless you're willing to load an old save and go through hours upon hours of unfiltered theft. And it really is hours upon hours. The game lasts a couple of Seinfelds, at least. And in the final act of the game, it starts feeling like Seinfeld at times, but in a good way.
Quiet, here she comes. So?
You were eavesdropping.
Yes.
No.
You haven't changed a bit.
But contrary to Seinfeld, The Witcher 3 has a proper ending. A lot of people have a problem with the latter half of the game, and in a way, I get it. It's a very elongated game, but my brother in Christ, all of it is really good. Like, get the fuck out of here. Did you not like the wild cunts? For me, the final act of the game is a time to take it a bit slow, reflect on everything that's happened up to that point, while still tying up loose ends before the big finale, which I absolutely love. It's this big final confrontation with the metalhead Finns, not unlike their wars with the Koreans in scale, where you have these big beautiful set pieces, 2 boss fights, and that devastating emotional send-off, and it doesn't matter which of the endings you get. You won't not be a mess. It might be because I played this game so many times, but there really isn't a part or point in the story that I don't like. Some are stronger than others, but there isn't anything I would consider bad or skippable. There aren't any moments that stand out for any bad reasons, but instead on account of being a little more magical, funny, or heart-wrenching. The first game had expressionless characters and mixed performances behind them, the second had slightly more expressive ones with good performances to back them up, and the third has character models able to perform even the most subtle facial expressions, with a smoothness not seen before in the series, and performances that stand on their own. Like with anything in the game, it doesn't matter if it's a throwaway character in a random side quest or a main character in the game's finale, all of the voice actors give it their best and their all, which makes Doc Cockle's performance even more impressive, considering what he's competing with. He's able to maintain Geralt's iconic voice, which now has reached perfection, and still be able to express a wide range of emotions without overdoing it, but doing just enough. In the first game, you could clearly hear he was trying to get used to the voice, and had to sacrifice emotional complexity in order to maintain it, but he still had his moments. In the second, he let more of his natural voice slip through in order to have a better and more smooth performance. And in the third, he has made Geralt's voice perfect, while delivering one of my favorite voice performances ever, and it's especially impressive considering the amount of lines he had to get through. A lot of people around the launch said he sounded like Batman, but they're the same people who call him Geralt, despite his name being uttered all the time by everyone, because they can't keep his name out of their mouths. So don't respect those people's opinions or hearing ability. Nearly everything in the game feel like a natural progression from the other games, but especially the music that has maintained that iconic Witcher tune that has been there from the very beginning, and which is yet another reminder of how far the games have come. And while the music is different, it still evokes the essence of The Witcher so well. Music is a powerful tool, and it can make up for many shortcomings, which it would sometimes do in the other game entries. But in a game with little to no shortcomings like The Witcher 3, it makes that otherwise simple journey ascend to an adventure. There are many musical moments that stand out in the game, but I think the most profound one is when you get to Skellige, and the Fields of Ard Skellig starts playing. The ambient music is soothing, as it should be, and the combat music is hard as fuck, as it should be.
Show me your spins, pirouettes, and feints. I want
Sound design in general is very good, but it will never compare to the sound effects of slashing through enemies in The Witcher 1. Usually when I start talking about music and sound is the point where I know to wrap things up, because I've run out of things to talk about, but in the case of The Witcher 3, you can't really run out of things to talk about. It's a game that has remained prevalent since before and after it got released. It made the entire AAA industry shape up, and has been held as a standard ever since. And it has turned The Witcher from a popular franchise to a world famous one, and now most people know what a Witcher is, and that it's Geralt and not Geralt. And if it wasn't for this game, I would never have come around to play these wonderful games and read these excellent books, or have been introduced to the great nation of Poland, Fava Polska. And I can't wait to not be able to afford a PC in 10 years that can't run The Witcher 4 on 60 FPS because everyone insists on using a garbage game engine.